We have a fourth line day. Today we are looking at the fourth line called Assimilation in the 55th gate of Spirit and Abundance. Ra said that one of the interesting things about this line is that it works much better when it is in an undefined emotional system, because these people are fixed on who feels good and who doesn't feel good, and they're not confused by the wave. This is what they know, and in their relationships, in their assimilation with other people, they will be with one person because that person makes them feel good. It kind of fills their cup. And they will not be with someone else who drains their cup and with whom they don't feel so good. It's very clear to them, but still they get very fixed within that because that's the mechanic of the fourth line. They're not very good at dealing with a lot of people because this can be confusing when you're designed to be fixed, but they are very concerned about who is exactly the right one. Individuality has only one social channel, which is which is only social when it's in the mood, of course. And this channel is the 2212, which is in the same stream as this 55. It's the stream of emoting. And it begins in gate 39 in the root center, the gate of provocation. This is the fuel. Provocation fuels this stream of emoting. So provocation is really important for finding the spirit and then getting that into the openness, the channel of social connectivity to the tribe and the way of getting up to the throat. In order for there to be a social capacity in this gate, there must be cooperation. Remember, we saw that in the first line, and we always have the harmonic between the 1 and the 4. This is what the fourth line is externalizing. Within the structure of the hexagram, the fourth line is always externalizing the message that is held in the foundation of the first line. By the time you get to the upper trigram of the transpersonal here in the fourth line, we can be experiencing a really powerful emotional force. The exaltation, the establishment of a framework that balances principles with energy and leads it leads inevitably to expansion and prosperity. The possible spirit that comes when emotional awareness and energy are balanced and principled. I think that's ever going to happen. Balance and principle with our emotional awareness. If we all wish together, children, I thought maybe we will see that in our lifetime. This is quite an ordeal for the fourth line. And of course, it's the whole theme for the 55-4, because the fourth line is about friendship, finding a way to work with the other, finding a way to work with our own energy, finding a way, bringing it right back home. How do we work with our own emotional system, with others, interacting that, finding the cooperation between who I am and who others are in order to find the right spirit to have that prosperity and that well-being. For the 55-4, the principle is always clear. It's always clear. Their cup is either half full or half empty, and they know that. When Ra said that this line works so well for people who are emotionally undefined, it's because when they hook into an emotional person, they can easily tell whether that is filling their cup or not. They're in the other's wave. They can tell right away. It's very clear for them. They're looking for that framework which will bring out that principle for them and give them the energy that will lead to expansion and prosperity and abundance. In other words, they need to find people that in their own track are going to make them feel good. These are people, this is mine, 55-4, people who are always looking for bliss. And this is also partly where some of the food issues come from. Because when you're unhappy, there's always that feeling that, okay, I'm going to eat something and I will feel better. I will feel happy again. And so sugar addiction can be a really big thing in the 55-4, something I managed to kick now, but it took me many, 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 many years would always be the thing. Oh, it was so unhealthy. I had this thing, right, where Bear used to work in London. And so he'd go on the train and he'd be out all day. So I'd go shopping and I'd go and I'd get these little bags of chocolate raisins or chocolate peanuts. Well, actually, they were just sugar. I mean, sugar peanuts and sugar raisins. The whole thing was a sugar fest. And of course, then I didn't want him to know that I'd eaten these because that wasn't right, was it? And so I'd eat the whole bag and then hide it at the very bottom of the rubbish bin before he came home. I have since confessed this isn't going to be a surprise to him hearing this in the transit report, but this is how unhealthy it can be. It's that the thing of like we have to hide these things, and and eventually it was like, can you help me with this because I'm really getting in a mess. And so it was, but it's something, it's a thing, the 55 for looking for that bliss, looking for the abundance, and yet being down on its wave. Where does it go? What does it reach for in order to try and move it? So I wonder what your experience is of this, because if you have the 55 for, you're going to have your own experience of this. 55 fours, they often people will ask us, are you happy? Because they want us to be happy. Because when we are happy, they feel happy, of course, because of the mechanic of the wave. They don't want to be sad. And the 55-4 is also in return, always asking, and are you happy? And if you've got an open emotional system, then you've also got that possible mechanic of you're trying to be a people pleaser. So maybe you're trying to make people happy because you want to feel the goodness that can be in the top end of the wave. So they're always looking for someone, whatever the framework happens to be, that is going to make them happy. Yeah. So you find someone who's a real idiot. I don't know what they think. I don't like what they think. I don't like being seen with them in public. And yet somehow they make me feel good. I don't know why. And this is why we're friends. And they can be very fixed in that, not letting go of friends who they sort of don't like, but the friend still makes them feel good. It's a very weird thing within the chemistry there. It can be a very powerful force when someone comes into the aura who gives us a sense that our cup is half full. Within human design, we put so much emphasis on the splenic center as the health center that we forget how emotionally ill it is possible to be through an unbalanced solar plex system. And this is something to take really seriously because the potential is there within the solar plex because it is so intrinsically tied to our nervous system. So any kind of illness or disorder or dysfunction that is going to be linked to the nervous system, and there's also all the other things that we've got going on in the solar plex, digestion and elimination and so many systems, it's not the time to go into it. But there is real potential there, and for it to affect us emotionally, and the power of the wave, the intensity of a melancholic down wave is extreme, and the what that can do to the nervous system and the emotional system is also extreme. So it's all something to be aware of. None of it is I'm not telling you to do anything other than maybe open some awareness to it, is all. It is only when we're sort of behaving according to our nature. It's only when we are responding to the world or living in the world through our design and our type and our definition and using our authority that we're going to be able to let go and release emotions that are not exactly detrimental, but because it's never about restraining the emotional field. But we sometimes need to just be aware of what doesn't serve us, what is draining our cup. So, but it's not about restraining the emotional field, not ever, not ever. It's part of who we are, that, that the play of it, play of the wave. And whilst we can find ease within the wave and we can find grace within the wave, this is possible. Never do we flatten the wave out. Never do we, remove the wave altogether. It's for an emotional being, the gift is to be clear in the release of the energy that we're putting out. That's what's so important. In the detriment, we have boundless energy that knows no restraint. boundless energy that ignores awareness at the risk of spirit. With the fourth line, it's always because of the other. The emotional system, it dominates our sexuality, our bonding, our pleasure system, all of these things. And it's never been aware. And the spirit of humanity is rooted in being able to connect and cooperate with the other in a way that transcends individual awareness. Everything about the success of the spirit, it's determined by the success of that being, to recognize, to be clear about the nature of the other, about its own nature and the other, with the other, because it requires cooperation. It requires, we could say, melding. Melding is a keynote for one of the new rave circuits. Oh, it's hard for us to imagine that on an emotional level, that melding might be possible. It won't be for humans, but that's the flavor of what can come through. The moment you're dealing with a fourth line, you're dealing with the wave of kindness and meanness. And if you're not clear about it, and if you don't have your framework right, so that you know the correct timing, you're going to crash. So you learn to tune into your moods. And this is a very acoustic circuit. I've mentioned that before. So you call up your friend, and you can tell by their mood and the sound of their voice whether you should have anything to do with them that day, whether they're going to fill your cup or drain your cup. Teenagers with this line can have a really hard time because they're so focused on the need to fill their cup. And so they can get deeply depressed when their cup is half empty. And again, the eating disorders that are a feature of this gate, they're just a reflection of all of those problems of trying to fill the spirit after it has crashed. It's a key to recognize, particularly with young people who have the 55-4. They can be fixed on being happy, but they need to find people who will allow them, within their framework, within the principles they hold, to accept both the happy and the sad of what it is to be a moody person. This assimilation is grounded by the 59 in the fourth line, of course, which is called brotherhood, sisterhood. And it continues with the theme of how important friendship is to the fourth line. Within the context of the 59 and the bonding strategies, it's about only having intimate relationships with those you've made friends with first. And only those are going to be the ones who will accept your spirit, regardless of where you are in the wave. I have the great good fortune of having the 55-4 in my defined solar plexus, and of having a bear who accepts where I am in my wave, which doesn't mean he always likes it, it must be said. But I don't get grief for it. I don't get any pressure to be other than what I am, or to experience something that I'm not actually experiencing. This has been a huge learning curve for us. And thank God for human design. I also have the 59, not in the fourth line. I have the 59 3 times. So thank God for bringing human design to us and helping us through our relationship, because it had been difficult. Yeah, he's open emotionally, and he has the 49, which you might recall from a couple of transits ago, carries a theme of rejection. So me being down on my wave, it wasn't always comfortable for either of us. I tell you this actually, now this might be a good moment to share with you something that I'm going to be doing. I'm doing a deep dive on the mechanics of the solar plex with my good friend, my very good friend and colleague, Michal. She's a generator with an open solar plex, and we've had such fabulous conversations about the mechanics, and we seriously geek out together. But we decided it would make a really good offering to our communities. So if this is of interest to you, please let me know. Sign up for my newsletter, bambaji.com, and you will get more details as we work them out. What we're planning on starting with is a free webinar on the 24th of March, I think it is, and that will introduce the deep dive and sort of maybe give an outline of it, and then begin the actual thing itself on the 21st of April. Yes. What else? Venus. Venus is moving today, going into gate 21 at 1634. This is the ego gate of the hunter or the huntress, and it is known as the gate of control. It's tribal. It makes up part of the money line. And so it is concerned with the material resources of the tribe and with being in control of these resources. On a personal level, with Venus in this gate, if it's not usually a gate that we have defined in our design, we might experience our desire rather, to control our territory, which might translate as our home or even our own body. We might find we want to do things our way while this gate is active. The moon has been in gate 9 since 18 minutes past midnight. This is the gate of focus. It's in the sacral center. It's in logic circuitry. And from here it moves into gate 5 at 11:22, which is still logic. And it's on the other side of the sacral center. And this is the gate of fixed rhythms, where finding our own habits and rituals through our strategy and authority, not from conditioning or from the mind, this is what is going to keep us healthy. Next, we have the egoist in gate 26 at 22:19. This is an ego gate, of course, in the ego circuit, and it has one drive in life, really, and that is to find a way to make as much money as possible with the least amount of work. If it can do that, it's happy. And it can work hard. This is the ego, after all, with that incredible access to willpower. And we know there must be adequate rest in order to compensate for the energetic output required to work hard. And finally, for this report, at least, we have the moon moving into gate 11 at 09:08 tomorrow morning. This is an Ajna gate, and it's in abstract circuitry. It's the gate of ideas, it's the gate of peace, and it takes the experiences that have been made sense of through the 6447, and it turns them into concepts that its harmonic gate, the 56, can tell stimulating stories about, entertaining the collective, educating the collective, because that's hopefully what a good story is going to do, at least in part. Okay, so back with the 5th line tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening or watching today to this transit report of the 4th line in the 55. Until I see you again tomorrow, may your cup be half full. And if it's half empty, enjoy it. Enjoy it and give no reasons for it. Yeah, and the only thing that endures is change, which may sound like a platitude, but it really can help. It's weather. It is just weather. Okay, lovelies, I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.